Thanks, Laura. Yeah, welcome everybody. NECCA 21. Here we are after a fairly strange NECCA 2020 last year that we did virtually. We're really excited about doing a physical award ceremony towards the end of this year. So we're going to be talking about the structure of the awards. We're going to be talking about building on success from 2020. Last year we had 121 nominations, which was absolutely fantastic, and 35 organisations shortlisted for the awards. And we had over 3,000 views on YouTube. So the pandemic has been absolutely horrible, obviously, but we were able to get more traction and views for the virtual award ceremony that we ran last autumn, which is really good for NECCA because it's increased our audience and it's increased the interest in the awards. So this year, and for this launch event, I'm going to be saying a few words of welcome, and then we're going to pass across to one of our lead judges, Michael Sherwood, who really wants to say a few words about the values behind the North East Contact Centre Awards, what we're about, what makes us different, what we prioritise and what we think is particularly important, which runs right through and supports the awards programme that we deliver. Mike's going to pass across to Christine Allenson, who's our head judge, and Christine's going to explain about the changes that we've introduced, just slight changes really to the categories and how we're running the awards program this year, which I hope everybody will be interested in. And then the majority of time, we're really going to try and have some interviews between the judges and some of the awards winners from 2020. So we're going to reflect and get some views from several of the awards winners from 2020, as you see there. Sage, BGL, R&D, and NHS BSA are going to be represented, and Michelle from Sage and Emily from BGL and Andy from R&D, appropriately named, and Dan from NHS BSA are going to reflect on their nominations last year, their entries, the judging process, and what it meant for them, both individually and for their organisations. And we're going to finish our session with a little bit of action planning and next steps. Is that okay for everybody? People can shout out and put their hands up, and if you want to use chat, then please do. I'm probably not going to be able to respond because I'm facilitating and chairing the session, but Laura, who's the brains behind the North East Contact Centre Awards, will be able to respond, I'm sure, to any questions that you might have or any information that I've missed throughout this morning's presentation. Okay, enough about housekeeping. Let's get on with this morning's information. So a few words, first of all, about the sponsors of North East Contact Centre Awards. Who supports the awards? Who makes it happen? We've got Sunderland City Council as the event partner. Obviously, the contact centre industry is vastly important for all local authorities across the North East, none more so than Sunderland, who employ a large number of managers and operators within call centres right across the city region, from Doxford into the city centre. It's really good to see new investment in Sunderland as well, with the Beam building and Ocado, a new occupant of the Beam building that we're looking forward to receiving nominations from this year from the team at Ocado in Sunderland. We've also got Green Bean Specialists Recruitment Process Outsourcing Company. We've got Julie from Green Bean, who will be saying a few words this morning, who I'm sure many of you on the call will know all about Green Bean and their expertise in the call centre industry across the region, and the shared service centres as well throughout the region. We're really pleased to have Green Bean supporting the awards again this year. We've also got several other sponsors: Business Durham, the business support arm of Durham County Council. We've got Invest North East England, representing the inward investment opportunity for the region as a whole to grow the region's prosperity by attracting more brands into the area who operate contact centres across the region. Perfect example will be Very Sure at North Tyneside Council. We've got North Tyneside Council heavily involved in the events as well. We're also working closely with People Gauge, who are an expert employee engagement software provider. So it's really good to have People Gauge on board also. A few words about the North East Contact Centre industry. We've got these statistics working with Invest North East England. So they're the latest research findings from the broader industry across our region. And we've seen that over 133,000 people are employed in the Northeast's financial, professional and business services sector. And the contact center industry is obviously a very large part of that. We've got over 145 contact centers now. Some of the world's major brands are represented right across the region. Some specialist outsourcing providers also, of course, and many public sector organizations and government agencies running significant call center operations also in the Northeast adds to that comparative advantage, if you like, for this region in this really important industry. We've got also the Northeast as one of the highest proportions of employees, as you see there, in financial and business service employees in call center activities. So we've got real strength in the region, and we're representing that through the Northeast Contact Center Awards. It's really good that so many organizations compete for these highly prestigious awards that we're winning. A little bit about the timeline for 2021, just going into some information now about how we're going to run the program this year. We've got a nomination workshop scheduled for the 10th of June, so we'll be providing more information on the timings for that. So if you can please mark your diaries, those of you who'll be making nominations, I hope everyone on the call will be making several nominations to win an award this year. We've got a nomination workshop which is run by the judges, what they're looking for, how to structure your entry, what information to put in, what information to leave out, how to create and submit the most impactful submission and nomination. So that's going to be our nomination workshop on the 10th of June. The nomination period is now open as of today, so it's never too early to get those nominations in. And the deadline this year is the 30th of July, Friday the 30th of July at 5 o'clock. We'll cut the nomination period off, and that will be our absolute hard deadline for receiving nominations for this year's awards program. Then the judging begins, the fun starts. So we'll be going through round one judging and shortlisting entries. We'll be announcing that shortlist in early September, as you see there, the 9th of September. And then we'll be having a second round of judging, a final round of judging, which will consist of interviews, of presentations, even site visits. That'd be nice, wouldn't it, to actually see each other face to face for a change after everything that we've been through. So we hope to be running through some physical site visits as well as part of that second round of judging. And we'll be obviously announcing the winners on the big night, 11th of November at the Lancastrian Suite in Gateshead. That's where we'll be hosting the award ceremony this year. So the 11th of November, obviously get that date in your diary if you haven't seen that date announced as yet. We are very much looking forward, as I said, to coming back together as an industry. Hopefully the current roadmap that the government's announced will be delivered successfully, and we'll all be able to get together indoors without the need for social distancing. Clearly we'll be running the event to any government guidelines that exists later this year in the autumn to make sure that it is a COVID secure environment should that be necessary. But we're really looking forward to having a party in November to celebrate the winners and to celebrate the success of all of your organisations together. We are once again really proud to be working with Charlie Charlton, who's going to be our host of the awards on the 11th of November, and tickets are available from the NECCA website as of now, so it's never too early to guarantee your place at the event. Okay, I'm now going to pass across to my colleague Michael Sherwood. Michael's one of our lead judges at the awards programme. He's also very importantly head of customer experience at Atom Bank, so he brings a vast amount of experience to his judging role within NECCA, and we're really pleased to be working with Mike and other really talented judges as part of the awards programme this year. And Mike wants to say a few words about our values. That's right, Mike, isn't it, in terms of what underpins NECCA and what we hold dear and what makes us slightly different from maybe other awards programs that are out there. So Mike,
yeah, that's right. That's right. Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to kind of spend a few moments kind of taking you behind the scenes, under the hood, whatever metaphor you want to use, just to kind of convey, I guess, why we do the things we do as lead judges and why we get involved in why we've got involved in the relaunch of NECCA last year. So I think the key thing to say is, you know, the thing that binds everybody, regardless of whether they're a judge, whether they're an organizer, whether they're a sponsor, is we're absolutely passionate about the region. You know, the vast majority of us, if not all of us, were born and bred in the region, but we're also passionate about the contact center industry. And we got involved in the relaunch of NECCA last year for a reason. I guess we sit on a number of different judging panels. So we judge for the UK awards, we judge for the European awards, and time after time, we get to see Northeast contact centres not only making it through to the finals, but actually winning awards at UK and European level. And what we want to do essentially is make the regional awards, NECCA, the most highly talked about, I guess, and promoted regional awards in the UK, because we've got some brilliant people and some brilliant contact centres, and we want to shout about it. I guess the other thing to say as well is that, you know, the reason that we got involved in the first place is the vast majority of either running contact centres in the UK or have run contact centres in the region previously. So what does that mean then? We try to distill that and I guess articulate it in terms of some values. So the first thing we want to share with you is that, you know, these awards are not about us. They're not about the judges. It's great that we've got sponsors on board and we couldn't do this without them, but it's not about them either, right? This is about you and about the region and recognizing that you provide some of the best customer service, not just in the UK, but in the whole of Europe. So we're making this about you. It's about recognizing and celebrating your stories, elevating those stories, and then communicating them UK-wide so everybody understands just how brilliant you are. So that's the first thing. The second thing, again, we've got a collective group of people that are involved in these awards that want to do good, right? They want to make sure that we either create jobs or we help people sell their story because it's not heard, be it within their individual organizations or whether it's more broadly across the region or the UK. But we want to kind of do our bit because I started on the telephones as a customer service agent. The vast majority of the people on the judging panel did the same thing and then worked their way up. You know, it's something that we're absolutely passionate about, and we want to kind of give back, if you like, and make sure that we're doing our bit to help other people that are either might be just starting on the road towards becoming a contact center agent or working in training or actually have aspirations to lead contact centers overall. So we really want to help. That's the reason that we're getting involved in these things, and for us to do good for the industry and the region and the people that work in this brilliant industry of ours. The third thing, like I said, we've got brilliant standards across the Northeast. I think it's probably, you know, the best kept secret. If I'm completely honest, I think, yeah, the Northeast has a stage mainly through the UK and the European. But, you know, we don't sing about it. We don't shout about it at regional level, probably as loud as we could. And as a result, if we can do that and make everybody aware just how brilliant our customer service is in our region, then we want to help raise the standards. You know, it's already at a great standard, but we want to take it right to the top level. So that's the third thing we want to do. And then finally, and it's linked to the people piece, but, you know, this is really and truly about you. There's not many people within the kind of organizational structure that get it for doing what we do. We do it because we're passionate about the industry, and we got together and said, right, the one thing that matters probably more than anything is they're your awards, right? They really are about the people, they really are about the industry, and it's our job, if you like, to go through the people that apply and make our judgment on who should win. But then it's our job to promote that and sell it at regional level and also at UK and European level. So these awards really are about you, regardless of the size, regardless of what you do or what sector you work in. And then finally, again, this is about inspiring people that are maybe at university or you know, coming through college, who perhaps don't see customer services as their career of choice. You know, through us, I guess, shining a spotlight on customer service and magnifying it and elevating it, we want to help people in the Northeast that might not be thinking about joining the contact center industry to put customer service and contact centres at the top of the list.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks for being with us, Mike, as well this morning, and for talking about those values. We, as you say, believe it's very important to reflect on those, not just the structure of the awards, but what sets the awards programme for this particular industry apart from others. So that's great. Moving on, pleased to welcome Christine Allenson, who's our head judge. Christine, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thank you, Andrew.
Hiya. Hiya.
And great to hear from Mike some of the values and the things that, as an organisation and a panel of judges that we stand for. Pandemic has exposed a lot of things and impacted people in a lot of different ways, and we know that young people, particularly those under 25, are more likely to have lost their job during the pandemic. And that's where the industry, such as ourselves, can help. We're a thriving sector, particularly in the Northeast, and welcome everyone into the sector. So looking at the awards categories for this year, we've tried to focus more on BAU and get back to what we do day in, day out. So you'll see there's a summary of the awards. So we've got 8 individual star awards, 3 team awards, and 5 organisations. Now the details are all on the website, so I'm not going to go through each one individually, but I want to highlight those where we've made some changes. So on the next slide, Andrew. On the individual awards, by far the most popular category last year was the customer service star. So this year we've split it into voice and digital, recognising the growing channel, the growing channel of digital and the impact that that has. And we've also, within the individual categories, widened the apprentice one to include your internal apprentices, so that's your entry-level apprentice coming in, studying for that external qualification, right through to your internal people that might be looking at a leadership apprentice right up to level 5. So we've widened that category. I think that's really important. The team awards we've simplified, so we've simply got 3 team awards this year. We're looking for the best service team out there, the sales team and the support team. And again, that definition of what we would see as a support team is all on the website. So have a look through that one. On the organisational ones, we've got 2 new categories. The first one is community and social purpose. Now, on this one, we're looking for that organisation that can deliver long-term sustainable initiatives in the communities in which they're operating. We know we've got some amazing companies out there who are doing some amazing things, and some of the stories we heard last year of what people were doing in the pandemic, they gave us as judges goosebumps about some of the things that are happening out there. But on this one, we're looking for what is your purpose and are the initiatives sustainable? And then people engagement. Whilst we had a category similar to this last year, this is a much wider category, and it's more than just engagement. It's about how organisations demonstrate their engagement through 4 key areas. The first one being just engagement and development of their people. The second one about equality, diversity and inclusion. How are organisations engaging the people through those key areas? Health and well-being, that has really come to the fore during the pandemic, and what we want to see is which organisations are really putting that first. And then flexible working. Again, if we go back 18 months, there will be a number of contact centres out there who thought they could never operate home working. In the space of a couple of weeks, for some organisations, that was turned on its head, and people now have much more flexibility. So we're looking for how people are engaged through that flexible working. And I think all of these things have been exposed through the pandemic. Your traditional command and control has gone, and this era now is about being truly inclusive, and that's what we're looking for through that category there. But again, the details are all on the website, so have a look through it, and if you've got any questions for myself or any of the judges about the award categories, please either shout up now or send them through to Laura. So I just want to touch now a little bit on, if we go to the next slide, Andrew, on the judging panel. As Mike said, we all came together for the relaunch of these awards last year. We're all working in the contact centre industry. We've got a breadth and depth of knowledge and believe in the sector, and all have the same objective of just wanting to highlight and recognise the great work of the people and the organisations in the North East. So we have got a core judging panel, and the details are on there for the people that you can see, and they will lead on some of the categories, but really importantly, we're all supported by a number of people across the industry that are working in your centres, and they are supporting us through that process. So we've all got current, up-to-date operational knowledge, and we take you through a really robust process. So it's important that we understand all of that data and the metrics and the workings of contact centres. So if we go on to the next one, what we thought would be really useful would be to introduce a number of last year's winners to you and just get their perspectives on the awards. So the first person I'm going to introduce to you is Emily Taylor from BGL in Sunderland. Now, Emily leads the community team at BGL, and they won the Community Team of the Year last year. I personally judged this award, and the impact that this organisation have made to people's lives was immense and just blew away the panel. So we thought we'd ask Emily just to say a few words. So Emily, I hope you're with us. From your perspective, what were the benefits of entering to you?
Hi everyone. So BGL has been involved with NECCA for many years now, and apart from the amazing evening that's arranged every year, the awards not only benefit the individuals and the teams that are recognised, but it also really benefits the organisation as well. The Sunderland community team were lucky enough to scoop the winning prize at the awards ceremony, and it really recognises their efforts and enables the team to reflect on the amazing things that they've achieved over the years and what impact they've made on others. And it's a real proud moment, to be honest. It really drives engagement, because the next question that we kind of ask ourselves is, what next? What can we do now? We're always inspired to think bigger and better. Yeah. As a direct result of the award ceremony, we also find that other colleagues from around the business really want to engage, which is also amazing. With BGL, we have different sites across the UK, and winning the award really allows colleagues from around our Sunderland site to showcase some of the amazing achievements. We totally lead by example, and it has a massive impact on the overall business as well. It's such a positive thing to share in recruitment when we're attracting new potential colleagues to the business, and our achievements are something that we're really proud of. The group as a whole, our partners also say what a socially responsible organisation that we are, and it certainly can be the difference to securing new contracts and encouraging networking. So in short, to sum it up, the benefits are amazing. It's a really good thing to be part of, and it's definitely something that I would recommend. It really drives positive change.
Thank you, Emily. She'll be looking at the new category this year with interest, I would imagine. Emily, what would you say to anybody thinking of making an entry for the first time?
Go for it. From the application process to the evening awards, it's just a brilliant experience. NECCA allows for so much, so not only the networking, it allows best practice and a real sense of pride. And I think when submitting the application, you can really sit back and think, my God, you know, look at everything that we've achieved, and we really are awesome. Like, it's a real sense of pride for me. I would really recommend getting in an application for other organisations, 100%.
Thanks, Emily. And I think you can hear from the enthusiasm in Emily's voice that she's a real advocate of the awards and that pride that it gives you. So thank you very much, Emily. I'm now going to hand over to Julie Mordew from NRG Greenbean, who is also one of our lead judges, and Julie's going to introduce another one of our stars from last year. Over to you, Julie.
Thanks, Christine. Can I just say thank you, everyone, for coming on today, and I'm delighted to be a part of this again this year. So the next person I'd like to introduce you to, Andy, they had a fantastic year last year. The organisation impressed the judges with their renewed emphasis and investment in their people, and took home Team of the Year, Colleague and Most Effective Employee Engagement Awards. So brilliant year for them. The team rolled out a programme that supports the whole person with initiatives that go beyond the workplace, such as financial advice, virtual GP service, CrossFit, mindfulness, and chess for beginners, just to name a few. They even introduced a programme to support those with homeschooling during lockdown, which I'm sure many of you will have experienced that challenge. Their frontline advisor, Jenny Flynn, also won the Customer Multi-Channel Star, and winning 3 out of the 4 categories that were shortlisted for, that obviously did a fantastic job of selection which categories to enter this year. So I'd like to introduce you to Andy Preacher from Andy. And Andy, what was your approach to entering and completing the forms last year, and what preparations did you take?
That was a lot of Andys in one sentence there, wasn't it?
It was. Nobody will forget the name.
Yeah. So yeah, so the problem, I think last year was the third time we'd submitted some against various categories as what is now Andy in our previous company in Box. The problem that we probably found in the past was trying to remember everything that we'd done over the previous year. I struggled to remember what I had for breakfast, so trying to remember back the last 12 months and the volume of activity that's taken place. So we've taken some learnings from previous submissions to keep track of that through the year. But importantly, when it came to the submission itself, was to get a real cross-section of people involved in that. So we kind of going through a bit of a brainstorming process rather than what had historically left it to one or two individuals to put together those submissions. So we. I just accidentally clicked the mute button. I think I did, didn't I? It's embarrassing, isn't it, after 15 months? So what I was saying is we had a real cross-section from our business involved. So we had our comms manager, head of OD, senior business partner, payroll and benefits manager, and some colleagues from the business who had experienced what we'd done as a team. From an engagement point of view, all feed into that submission. I like to think what we did, and from an activity point of view in the business, was a little bit different as well. So we tried to be a bit more creative with our submission. We probably learned from previous experience that just downloading a load of facts into a Word document didn't really help the initiatives come alive. So lucky for me, I've got some people infinitely more creative than me and my team came up with some really nice and a little bit sort of quirky and different ways of presenting that information. My head of OD dressing up as Mrs. Claus being one of them, which I just let her roll with. She loves that stuff.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Andy. I'd like to hand over to another one of our lead judges now, Mark Brannan, who from BGL Group, who will be introducing another one of our stars.
Thank you, Julie. Morning, everyone. Yeah, that's right. We're really lucky to have Michelle Mulligan with us this morning. Michelle is the Customer Service Operation Manager at Sage. Now, Sage was shortlisted last year in an amazing 16 categories, taking home major prize of Contact Centre of the Year. They also did fantastically well in the individual categories, every level. Apprentice of the Year, Customer Support Superstar of the Year, Inspirational Leader, as well as being highly commended in the Customer Service Star and Customer Multi-Channel Star categories. I think what really impressed the judges was that Sage made massive innovations in 2020 and did so much to support colleagues who were working throughout the pandemic. I think the judges were particularly impressed with the fact that throughout the pandemic they maintained incredible levels of customer care, which was really interesting and really impressive from a judging point of view. And I think as well, Sage not only managed the challenge of deploying home working during what was their peak period, they achieved that with no disruption whatsoever. So Michelle, it sounds like you had a great year and certainly a successful year from a NECCA perspective. I guess my question to you would be, entering a lot of categories, how did you decide what you wanted to go for and how you were going, and what you were going to leave alone?
Yeah, so we've been involved in a few years. A bit of a laugh here, Mark, you might not remember, but when I won a couple of years ago, I think I grabbed you and hugged and kissed you, which you didn't expect.
Still got the bruises.
But no, so we have been involved for a couple of years now, and we have a people plan in both of our sales and services area, which is key. They own sort of a reward and recognition work stream in both areas. So where we celebrate our successes, whether that be customer, colleague, and innovation throughout the year. So really, we've got a record of all of that throughout the year, which helps us with our categories. And then in both functions, we get our operational managers together, which the people plan own. So we work with the categories, we plan it all, we get them all together. So we might propose some things, but then there might be some significant people that we might not be aware of that weren't in these awards, because it is all around the people's choice. But we get all the operation managers together and we go through the categories to see what achievements have we done throughout the year, and what's worked, what did we do last year, and is it better? Because really that's what we want to strive to do, and what improvements and innovation, because it's key, it really is. So it's a joint decision from all the senior operations managers, but it's run mainly by our people plan.
That sounds so interesting, Michelle. It sounds like yourself, Andy, and Emily are all talking about this sort of reflection and work in progress throughout the year leading to nomination. Yeah. You had so much success in individual categories as well. What benefits do you see from putting colleagues forward for those categories?
I think for us, celebrating success is one of the key drivers for us on people performance. I think, from an individual motivator perspective, that is key for our people, especially at the moment when we're all working from home. You can't turn around to see someone. So that celebrating success, whether it be internal awards, external awards, it's key. It really is to sort of see that drive. And we don't just think about the Sage brand and what that promotes for people coming in and recruiting and seeing their development, but it's that individual personal brand too. They see their name up in lights, not just the internal, but I've won that Northeast, we see it across social media, and it makes them so proud. And then it's got their peers that they want to aspire to be on that list. They want to aspire to win those awards because the feeling is immense. It's great. You want to shout it from the rooftops, and others want to aspire to be that and come and work for our company, and that's what we want.
Lovely. And last one, with the awards being virtual last year and without being able to rugby tackle me, how did you celebrate?
So we all got dressed up. We did all the black tie. We got dressed up. We all had our champagne glasses ready. We sent hampers out to all the shortlisters. So they all had some little nibbles and a drink each for them. So we started a little bit early, as you would, and we had some fun and we had some music. And then we celebrated with each other throughout the night and stayed on till the early hours. And weirdly, I was dancing on my own with disco lights in the dining room, but I was with my people across the screen, which was amazing. So yeah, we can still do things and we can still be together when it's virtual.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michelle. Over to you, Mike.
Find the mute button. Okay, thanks very much, Mark. Right, I'm now just going to speak to Dan Britton and ask him to share some of his thoughts. So Dan is the head of customer operations at the NHS Business Service Authority over in Newcastle. And obviously last year we heard lots of fabulous stories from around the region. But I think some of the most emotional and inspirational stories came from the NHS Business Service Authority. Now, we all got together and collectively agreed as judges that Dan and his team should win a special judges award for the fabulous things and there was so many of them that they did last year, in the national effort to combat COVID. So Dan, I just want to introduce you and just ask you a couple of questions, really. So first of all, could you just tell me what the nomination and judging process from your perspective was like? How did you and your colleagues find it?
Yeah, thanks, Mike, and thanks for that nice introduction. Yeah, it was quite a relaxed process, to be honest. And with it being the first time virtual, we're so used to on-site visits when it comes to judging. We weren't sure how it would work, and I think that was the same for the judges as well, because it's the first time we've been in this sort of experience. But it worked really, really well. It didn't feel any different to the on-site visits. It was relaxed. It was informal. I know the judges really like to sort of keep you at ease when it comes to sort of coming in for the judging, because to those of us on the other side, it can feel quite anxious. You could feel quite stressed about it. It feels a little bit like an interview, even though you know enough about your business to have the confidence to come back and talk about why you've put in for these awards. And because it's your choice you put in for them, you know, it's up to you to sort of prepare to be proud about what you're about to talk through and get that confidence. But the judges make you feel like that anyway. And virtually, I was on a couple of our judges' calls, and that's how I felt, and that's how the team felt as well. So I think it worked really, really well. And some of the other winners have said it earlier. The judges are experienced customer service and customer experience professionals, so they understand the contact center industry and the customer service industry, so they know what sort of questions to probe further into, and they understand kind of what processes you've got in place and how good customer service works. So it's a really good experience in that way, and some of it ends up being a bit of a discussion rather than a kind of presentation sort of interview style. So it's a really relaxed environment, I've found.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for sharing those insights. It's really appreciated. I guess another point as well that we made earlier is, you know, if we're going to elevate these awards and shout from the rooftops about the brilliant stuff that you guys do, I've made the point that you know, there's organisations within the Northeast that have made it through, not just being successful within the Northeast Contact Centre Awards, but have then, you know, gone on to further success at national and European level, and you guys have done that as well, Dan. So, you know, you're a great example of, you know, we recognise things at regional level, but actually, you know, you guys are providing service that's being recognised at UK and European level. I think that's really important for people who are thinking about applying for these awards. You know, this is a stepping stone, I think, for wider recognition as well. And you guys have certainly, you know, been pioneering that on behalf of the region, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, Mike. And you're right. You took the words out of my mouth there in terms of it being a platform to build on. We when we did the judging for NECCA, our judging experience, it gave us that sort of, it was the starting point in terms of how we wanted to tell our story. And I thought we did a good job with it. And as things progressed over the next couple of months after the judging, we were able to expand on our story, so the kind of the basis of what we wanted to tell was already written. It was already there, and we already knew that we had the confidence around how we could present that, because we'd done well in NECCA, receiving the Judges Award. So that was the springboard for us we put in for Europeans. We were lucky enough to win European Gold for Large Contact Centre of the Year. And we won a bronze award for our workforce management for Team of the Year. So it was using what we'd had for NECCA and expanding on it. We borrowed a lot of the slides that we'd used to talk to the judges in NECCA with, so it was already there, so it worked really well for us. And coincidentally, I'm on a talk next Wednesday at the European award-winning conference to tell our story again. So for me personally and some of my team coming along to do that, it's a good profile raiser for us as a business and as individuals to promote and tell what we've done and how much value it's added. So yeah, I totally agree with those points.
Thanks, Dan. And finally, you're booked in for the big event in November. How are you guys? Hopefully we can physically get together if everything goes to plan. But what are you looking forward to in terms of the event and getting the gang together to really celebrate?
Yeah, another good question. I suppose there's a couple of things I'm looking forward to, and a bit like a lot of people on this call. Whilst I see my team every day, you know, the ability to see them, you know, face to face in the flesh will be a bit surreal, I think. But looking forward to that, to actually maybe be able to shake a few hands, hopefully, click a few drinks. But getting people in a room and just seeing those photos that you showed earlier, just being able to hopefully go back to what that used to be, and see people and have a good time. And so yeah, we'll be throwing a few nominations in definitely this year. And I'm pleased I joined because I didn't realise July the 30th was the nominations close, so I've made a note of that, and I'll go back to the team and we'll start pulling some stuff together.
Great stuff. Thanks very much for sharing that, Dan. Much appreciated. I'm now going to hand back over to Laura and Andrew.
Thanks, Mike.
Just unmute myself before I start speaking. Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks to all of the judges. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Mark, as well. And thanks in particular to Michelle, to Emily, to Andy, and to Dan for giving us their thoughts. Let me just come back to the right place on my slide deck. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit, just very briefly, about next steps. Yeah, so a lot of people have mentioned the information that's freely available now on the website. So please take a look at all of the categories that are described in detail. The criteria for those categories also importantly are described in detail. I'm here to help. My colleague Laura is here to help. All of the team, all of the judges are here to help. So if there's any questions, queries, comments that you've got prior to submitting your own nominations for any of the award categories, then please get in touch. So we've got a toolkit. We've got the categories and criteria that are now available to download via the website, obviously necca.co.uk. But I should also mention again the session that we've got on the 10th of June, which is a really important training session. So it might be good to hold off submitting any nominations until after that. I highly recommend attending that, going into a little bit more detail. Christine and the other judging team who you've been introduced to this morning will be explaining more about what they're looking for and how to submit a winning nomination for NECCA 21. Obviously, we've got the awards evening on the 11th of November coming up, which we're all looking forward to, as has been highlighted throughout this morning's session. So we hope as well that you'll be looking to book your places at that as early as possible to guarantee a table for your organisations to come together as an industry and celebrate our own success. So it's starting to prepare your entries now, and to get those in, it's never too early to download that information and start preparing it. What I'd like to do now is maybe just open up for any Q&A, strangely and possibly uniquely for myself, and I'm facilitating one of these sessions. We've got a little bit of time spare in the slot that we'd allotted for this particular launch event. So we've got probably 5-10 minutes spare. So if anyone does have any questions that they'd like to put to us now, then maybe we can do that and open up the discussion, because many, as you've seen, of the judges and the sponsors are part of this morning's call. So it's an early opportunity, if you like, to ask any clarification questions prior to going away and doing your research and getting your nominations prepared. Before I do that, I'd just like to say thanks again to everyone who's joined us this morning, not least the judges and some of the winners from last year who've given us their thoughts. Really appreciate it. And Andy and others whose awards I've still got in my office. Here it is here. Andy's Team of the Year award. I'm not sure if it's coming up on the funny background that I've got on my video camera, but we've still got some of the awards in the office here from last year, so I'm really looking forward to going and hand delivering those awards to some of the winners from last year, now that we're starting to reach hopefully the end of the pandemic and things are starting to free up again once again. So yeah, questions and answers, please feel free to shout out if you've got any queries for this morning. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Dan.
Hi Andrew, thanks. It's just a quick one really, and I don't know if you've had any thought about this, but I thought the virtual event, whilst unfortunately we were all at home watching it and couldn't sort of get together, I thought it still worked really, really well. And I didn't know if you had any thought about when we sort of hopefully get to see each other in the flesh in November, that there's a bit of a hybrid approach where you do a bit of a virtual and a physical awards ceremony, because I think that might work quite well. I don't know if you've had any thought about it.
Yeah, great minds think alike. So we've already covered that. We've discussed that as the team of judges and the sponsorship group as well. So excellent shout, Dan. We are going to do that. We're going to be broadcasting the event on a live stream from the Lancastrian Suite, so we can reach that wider audience, because one thing that we learned from last year's event is how accessible the award ceremony is when you broadcast it online. So we had, as I say, over 3,000 views on YouTube, and we want to capture that large scale awareness and participation in the event going forwards as much as we can. So we'll definitely do a hybrid, and we'll be beaming live from the Lancastrian and showing people collecting their awards on stage and broadcasting that on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully it's a good sign when there's no questions. I'm taking that as a positive sign that everything's been quite clear for now. Clearly, myself and my colleague Laura are here to help with anything that you need, as I've said. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we'll say a final